local partners. What I'll do is I'll briefly go over those 4 goals, a few minutes on each one to kind of show you what we plan on doing over the next 4 years. The first goal is to provide comprehensive facilities, programs, and activities that play a key role in providing for the well-being of Athens area residents. These are the outcomes we're looking for. I'm not going to go over each individual outcome. Outcome 2, evaluate existing activities and add programs. We do ongoing evaluations. We just currently did an evaluation of the community center through a survey. We had about 85 respondents to that survey. We do surveys for all our programs, though, throughout the year on a quarterly basis. Here's some of the recommended facilities. Indoor aquatics. This is an exterior view from the outside, backed by our inline skating rink, which used to be our tennis courts, which we replaced about 5 years ago with different tennis courts, and we added that inline skating rink. So this is from behind the community center. When we built the community center, we allowed for expansion with our utilities, our electric and our gas. So if ever we decided to add aquatics, those were in place. The cost to do an indoor aquatic center is about $3.2 million. This is the indoor floor plan. It's a lap pool, a lazy river, an indoor playground, a water playground, a water slide, and a small whirlpool. We also have a plan for an outdoor pool, which takes our existing pool, which was built in 1972-73, and turns it into more of an aquatic center. They take our shallow end of our big pool and turn it into a zero depth pool. Would still keep some lap swimming, which is the blue lines in the middle. In the deep end, we would have some water toys. The water there is around 8 foot deep. Then the very deep end, we would keep one of our slides and add a deep plunge water slide. To the right of the screen are walkout slides. So actually they're spiral slides that you actually come into a separate water source and you actually walk out of the pool. And then down at the bottom of the screen is actually a children's play area, a spray ground, which is playground equipment that's in very shallow water. Actually, the water disappears as it circulates, and you're actually playing on a rubber surface. The cost of the outdoor facilities around $2.2 million. Realizing these are just future plans, but the advisory board would like to look at these this year a little more closely, especially the indoor, because we have a lot of requests for the indoor facility. Arts West Accessibility Project. We've got a $25,000 grant from the state capital budget to make the ground floor accessible. This plan was devised by Reeser Valentor. It actually takes you around to the back of the building and allows you to enter the building on the ground floor with a wheelchair or walk-in. Currently, the upstairs is already accessible. Along with that, we've got a community development block grant through Mayor Abel to allow us to replace the boiler this year. So those are 2 things that Arts West that actually have funding in place. The skate park lights project, which is actually on your agenda tonight. We have some funding in place for that. We have $15,000 from Ohio University to put towards that project. We have a $10,000 grant from the Oblenis Foundation, a $2,600 grant from the Athens Foundation, and we are waiting to hear back from NatureWorks. We have a grant for them for $20,400. I would like to move ahead with the project, though, because we need to go off for design and engineering. So today we have $27,600. The estimated cost is $55,000. If we would get the NatureWorks grant, we pretty much have the lights covered. Without that, we'd be asking the city for about a 50% match through the capital improvement budget. The Sandlot and J.C. Fields, which has been going on now for about 2 years. They just recently got a grant from the Home Depot Kaboom program, a $5,000 grant to renovate. What's on there is called Field 9, which will now be called the Polo Grounds. They also got a $20,000 grant from the Rotary Foundation to support that. All their grant writing has been done by George McCarthy. He's done a really good job, especially the Home Depot grant is very, very competitive. And to get that grant was really did a good job on his part. We also have talked to Roger Ames. He's an heir to Ralph Dalton. Ralph Dalton Field is the first field on the right when you're going back into the park. It's our only full-size high school field. Roger has shown interest in doing some more work to the Dalton Field, so once we get a price together, Roger will probably be giving us a donation to do some work on the Dalton Field this year also. Not really asking the city for any other support on those projects. Hopefully we can do those with grants. The soccer complex, which is down behind the Continental property between Continental and the river, which is Walmart, Staples, and all that area. The land is owned by the Hockey Conservancy. They've given us a licensure agreement to use about 15 acres. So far, we have seeded down about 3 fields. Eventually, we'd like to have 4 fields. We've done the first 3 from left to right, already under seed. The red canopy building is our restroom. We've received $75,000 from state capital money and also a $30,000 grant from the Ablenus Foundation. The Athens Soccer Association has also committed $10,000 to be paid over a period of time. We also have had AEP agree to give us a free drop to the site. That'll be starting this year. Once we get our state capital money, we'll be going out for bid for the restroom and the continued work on the soccer fields this spring. We want to expand and improve our accessible trails. As many know, John Nous does most of our trail work for us. Recently, the city received a grant to buy additional land west of Sells Park. It's about 16 acres. We also have plans to make Sells Park more accessible, at least on the lower level, with accessible picnic tables and a walkway, accessible fountain. We'll also make our 911 phone accessible to somebody in a wheelchair. If they had a trail wheelchair, they actually could get up onto the trails. If they had somebody to help them, they could get on the trails at Sells Park. But what really will be accessible is the lower part where we have our picnic tables. Next item is to expand our paved bike path. Through the mayor's office, we received a grant to do 1.1 miles of bike path yet this spring. It will terminate at where the new Holzer Clinic will be built. There'll also be a 390-foot spur that go to the Hope Drive apartments, allowing those people that live at Hope Drive access to the bike path. And the money for that, I think there is some city investment, but most of that's come from the Clean Ohio Transportation Fund and the ODOT T funds. We've looked at possibly building an additional dog park. Our current dog park, one of the problems there is it's overused. And as you can see in this picture, we have a hard time keeping grass. We really can't close the park. If we close the park, we have to close the whole thing. We would like to have an additional park that will allow us to actually go back and forth between parks. The second park would be on East State Street on Conservancy property. We've talked with Ohio University. They've expressed some interest in helping with funding, because really all it takes is fencing to build another park, allow people on the east side to have their own dog park, but also allow us to close parks and let them rest on occasion so we can get grass to grow. Add accessible play equipment. Most of our equipment already is accessible. We would like to add an additional playground, at least currently, to West State Street Park. We actually have some play equipment in place in storage that we want to put up this spring with the help of the Sandlot Group. So that playground would be accessible from the parking lot. This playground at Southside Park is accessible. So our goal is to make all our playgrounds accessible at some time over the next 4 years. Our goal, too, is to develop a plan to create an environment that supports self-sustainability and helps bridge the socioeconomic gap. Some of the things we've done there is Arts West has applied for a sustainability grant through the Higher Arts Council. They've also applied for a Newman grant. We've applied for the United States Tennis Association for operating funds to help with some of our tennis programs. And also, we're partnering with WOUB on a couple programs this year that will allow us to do some free programming for families and children. Some of the free facilities we offer, because a lot of people think, you know, with the community center there's a fee and the pool has a fee, but we actually offer a lot of free facilities. The bike path is one. The skate park, the inline hockey rink, the basketball courts, and all our playgrounds are free of charge to whoever wants to use those. All our trails and natural areas are free. This is Sells Park, but all our other areas where we have trails can be used for free. Goal 3 is to establish and maintain excellence in the park and recreation profession. One of the things was to try to get things published in journals and in recreation magazines. This appeared in the OPRA Connection magazine 2 years ago. It shows our skate park. It's called Big Dreams, Develop a Skate Park. We were the cover story and also had a very prominent story inside that publication. We had 2 other stories appear in the OPRA Connection, one about our daycare program and one about our Halloween party. Goal 4, we want to enhance collaboration with national, state, regional, and local partners. These are a couple examples, or 3 examples of where we've partnered with other people. One is the Tennis and Parks programs. We've done 3 special events that have been at no charge to the public with the Tennis and Parks programs. It's the United States Tennis Association. Our concrete challenge with this past year was called Wheels on Fire, but as you can see, some of our sponsors for that, the Athens News was the main sponsor, but we had many other sponsors, including, they're all on the bottom there. Then also we did the Healthy Ohioans Fitness Walk. Our partners there were the Governor's Council and the Healthy Ohioans Council. The final thing I want to bring up is because of our change in our identity with the public, hopefully, and with some of the things we do, we would like to now be called the Athens Community Arts, Parks, and Recreation Department. I think it makes it easy for people to understand what we do, that we're not just Parks and Recreation, we also do arts programming. And the community allows people to know when they call us or talk to us that we're the community center. Sometimes people get confused with our Athens Parks and Recreation, so it allows people to know that we are the community center. We also are Arts West. We're also in charge of the parks, and we're also in charge of youth and adult programs in the city. That's my presentation. You have a lot more information in your packet, including our accomplishments for the last 2 years, and each goal is a little more outlined with outcomes. The one I presented tonight, but I realized there was a time constraint tonight, and that's fine. Thank you.
Are there council questions for Kevin? Paul?
A couple questions. How many tennis courts do we have right now?
We have 4.
4? Okay. The other question, how are these things all blending together for you? The arts, park, and recreation. I mean, are they melding well, or are you having...
I think as time goes on, they will meld well better together. I think there's some confusion now, and the Arts West is, maybe out there kind of separate from our department, but I think more and more people are realizing we are all one department. I think it's important because people really need to cross over, and they do cross over back and forth from sports to arts to trails to all the things we offer. It's not really one certain program doesn't fit one certain person. I think people really participate in all kinds of programs, so
the other
it really works well.
A couple of other questions. Did you have a price on what those things are for Arts West, the accessible ramp, and offhand, is it in the packet? It hasn't been out
for bid yet. I know our grant is for $30,000, or our state project money is $30,000, so I think they're hoping it's within 25,000. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. And 2 other things jumped out at me. One was the soccer field restrooms. Is that in the floodway, or is that outside the floodway?
That is in the floodway.
Okay, is that going to be a problem?
Could be a problem, but we have talked to ODNR, Division of Water, and we're working out a calculation of if we're going to displace any waters. So we're working through those hurdles to make sure we do everything correctly with them.
And the dog park as well. That sounds like that would be also...
Dog park as well is also in the floodway.
Okay.
but we'll do the same thing. There's a hand calculation you can perform to show displaced water. The water doesn't really flow through those areas. I mean, it doesn't channel through there with any kind of force. It just comes up slowly and goes back down slowly.
Okay.
But we have talked to ODNR, and I've met with Steve Pearson, and Steve's aware of what we're trying to do. So we'll make sure we follow all their guidelines before we move ahead.
Okay, just wondering. Thanks.
Wojcik?
Yeah, there's a lot in here, but something just caught my eye, and I just wanted to clarify it. It says develop access points in parks bordering the Hocking River. Do you mean access to the river?
Yes.
Oh, what might that look like? Like boating? I mean, I'm curious what
I would say
access.
more like kayaking, canoeing, places you may want to fish. There's actually, with John Nelson's help, there's actually a map in the back of your, probably back
What
to
section is that?
the very last section.
8, 9.
8 and 9. Okay,
There's a Hocking River Water Trail map, and only one of those is actually one of our parks. It's at East State Street Park.
okay. So is the Water Trail Park then boating on the river?
Yes.
Okay.
Debbie?
I just had a question about, you have a statement in here in goal 2 about adjusting fees to a level that all direct costs associated with programs are covered. And I guess I'm assuming that's kind of overall, because I know when Maximus made their recommendations, they said there is a standard that particularly programs for children and youth would often be subsidized. So you're looking at kind of overall covering the costs?
Yes, and some of that can be through, rentals and things that maybe aren't considered programs for children. We do offer free programs for sports for all Athens County Job and Family Services children. They can play in our sports programs for free currently. We also have a program for foster children that can use the city pool for free. We do some programs that are actually free, but I know our goal is, and I know council would like to see us try to cover as many costs as feasible, realizing 100% recovery is probably not feasible, but to do the best we can.
Right. It's, if I'm remembering, it's been a while since I looked at Maximus, that we were a little low in terms of our cost recovery in adult programs, but we might be higher than the industry average in cost recovery for youth. And so I'd want us to think about really wide accessibility for young people. And I think the special programs that you're talking about are really important, but I want to make sure that these opportunities stay affordable for kids.
Yes. Yeah, I think all our programs now for children are affordable. I think even our programs for adults are, but when we usually raise fees, it's more on our special programming end where we have to hire an instructor and we really can see what our costs are. Even our daycare programs, even though they do bring in revenue, probably are rather reasonable compared to other daycare programs in the area. Realizing we get a subsidy, from the tax, and on the recreation side, we get a portion of the income tax.
Right. I also was really pleased to see that you're participating in the Step Up to Quality program. I think it's really nice to look at a way for people to get a sense of the quality of early childhood programs.
Yes,
So,
yeah, our previous program specialist got us started in that, and there's even some grant money that we've gotten from it to buy some operating supplies. I think around $1,500 to date we've gotten for free operating supplies for that program.
Great.
But I think it is important for parents to know if they're going to a quality program and have some kind of guideline to know what type of program it is.
Other comments or questions from council? Kevin, thank you for this report and the planning. This document has certainly served your department well and has grown with the department and gives council a clear idea of your planning and your goals. And this is great. Thanks for the ongoing successes with grant monies and being able to use that in great ways to increase the quality of life in Athens. Good job. And just, you mentioned in the report the Halloween party, and I think that's interesting because in case people didn't know, this is a separate Halloween party. This is the other Halloween party. It is a youth party at the community center, and it's quite an amazing event. And I will say that the thing that makes it work is Ohio University students. They just volunteer in droves, and it is a marvelous, energetic event. And so thank you for that part of Halloween, and all your partnerships and goals, and hope that we can move your requests along. As Kevin said, he would like to have us do a resolution endorsing the plans or the report, and he also would like an ordinance allowing the $55,000 for the skateboard or the skate park lighting. And I thought this would be a good time to address any specific questions you have about that. And we can go ahead and move that onto the agenda for next week. And my only other question was, should there be any kind of official resolution or anything to change the names? Or is it just done?
It'd probably be better to have a resolution.
Okay.
Just from the standpoint that it makes it more concrete. And, because otherwise it's just changing names on
Everything.
stationery and different stuff like that. But I think that it's a recognition that we've made another stride to really get into more of the cultural program, calling it the arts, but it's performing arts primarily, but it's also a lot more than that with various. There was a separate report, if anybody wants to see it, that Arts West provided to me, which I don't think is in the overall report that you just received.
It's not. Some of the goals are in there, but actually,
Right.
yeah, this is Arts West, annual report. If anybody would like to see a copy, I have a copy with me.
Okay.
I'm sure I
So,
can get you copies.
3 pieces of legislation to come forward: the resolution to accept or endorse the plan, a resolution to change the name of the department, and an ordinance for the lighting for the skate park. We have Kevin, so any questions that you have for him about any of that? Bajinko.
Okay, I was gonna say, how many people use the skate park on any given week?
Oh, I would say any
Hundreds?
given week, probably in the summertime, probably 300 to 400.
3,400.
It's probably our busiest facility outside of places that are scheduled or the city pool. It's much busier than, say, some of our other free facilities. If it's not snowing or icy, there are always people at the skate park.
People out there, yeah. Yeah, teenagers primarily, right?
Teenagers, younger children, and adults. A lot of adults with children will bring their children there and stay while their children skate.
Okay.
It probably would be the only outdoor lighted park in Ohio, municipal
Outdoor
park.
skate.
There are other parks, there's one in Louisville and there's some other parks, but there are very few lighted parks. And really, skating's probably more popular spring, summer, when it gets dark so early.
Right.
Because the weather allows for, summertime it almost gets too hot because it's concrete and it just reflects the heat. It would allow for a lot more use
Yeah.
of the park, especially in the fall.
Yeah, it's skateboarding. also.
Skateboarding, inline skating, and BMX bike
Oh,
riding.
inline skating? Oh, okay.
Debbie?
Better take it up.
How much
I do.
grant money is this, and how much are you asking?
Well, so far to date, we have $26,400, $27,600. We do have a grant for Nature Works for $20,000. We won't find out about that until probably sometime in March. That was also part of that state capital budget, which was approved at the end of December. But ODNR, since they have some changes in their department, they have not awarded the grant yet. But we may not get that grant. If we would, we'd almost have the project covered with grant money. If not, I'm asking the city to match what we have in place, which would be about a 50-50 share.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Paul?
I forgot the Nature Works do we have a match on that particular grant?
Nature Works is 75% state money, 25% local, so we would have that matched.
Yeah, just by the
Yes,
donations,
with what we
okay.
have in place already.
Okay, if there are no other questions, we'll move these things on for next Monday, and thank you for coming and bringing us the report and the information.
Thanks a lot.
The next on the agenda are the annual reports from the Chamber of Commerce and the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And you can go in whichever order you desire, or go up there together, or whatever. And thank you for. Well, you can sit at the table if you want.
One could be at one table, one at the other.
And we do have printed reports from both, so that we have something to carry away and ruminate over. Jennifer? Sure.
I'd like to thank the council for having us to do our annual reports. We know it's part of our contract, but also it's an opportunity for us to have feedback on some of the things that we do. As you know, we have an economic development contract through the Chamber of Commerce to provide economic development services to the city. It's a little bit different. Some cities have their own economic development departments. Some rely on the county economic development department. And so we're very fortunate in Athens to have the ability to mix the money from the city and the county to provide services at a much reduced rate than what you would have, obviously, if you were funding the department yourself. So in the annual report outlined basically what we have accomplished this year and what we hope to accomplish over the next year. I guess during this year, 2007. Our mission, as you know, is to create a strong business climate and to make sure that our member businesses are reaching their full potential. There are several ways that we do that. I want to address a few just to let you know. We have a couple of partners that are here with us tonight. Lisa Jolick with the Voinovich Center is here, and Angie Cantrell with Kennedy and Carver, who are representing AceNet Ventures, and AceNet Ventures, and Scott Nicely is on our board as well, as he's the chair this year. And that's the only way we can do any of these things that we do is through partners. And of course, Paige has become a very strong partner together with the Chamber of Commerce. So retention and expansion over the last year, we did 25 individual surveys to businesses big and small, from retail establishments, small retail establishments, small restaurants, up to some of the manufacturers. And we found that across that group, ultimately, they look to invest about $45 million in the next 3 years. That's pretty significant investment. Everyone we talked to, I don't think we just, reached out to the positive people, but everyone we talked to, I think, in terms of their growth, felt pretty positive about it. No one was negative, so there may be some that are kind of remain neutral over this next year, especially those that have to adjust to minimum wage hike, et cetera. Anyway, so we are seeing investment. We did from the chamber 600 additional businesses going out visits. We do that typically every year. Larry Payne, who's our membership services coordinator, is beating the pavement every day out talking with folks to really get an idea, a pulse of how things are going. One measure that we talked about previously with council is on the retention and expansion. How do you know we're doing all of these things? And it's not glamorous. Retention and expansion doesn't get the front, the headline on the newspaper, you brought 500 new jobs into town. But you sure do know if there's a headline that says such and such company is left with 180 jobs or 250 jobs or whatever it is. So we put a lot of work into that. And the companies that we've really put a lot of time into the last couple of years, and specifically this year, really we're looking at about 350 jobs that we've been able to affect. And we either look at, helping them receive state assistance for grant dollars, marketing, workforce development, et cetera. So it's really a broad range of services that we provide. On the entrepreneurial development front, Lissa and Angie in particular are part of our entrepreneurial development group that meets on a monthly basis. We have a number of nonprofits in the community that serve small businesses, and we seek to sort of facilitate discussion around their services and ours in order to be efficient. We've developed out of that the Southeast Ohio Investment Forum, It's a forum that matches up businesses. Businesses come in, do a presentation on what their investment needs are, and then we have individual investors in the audience. We have financial institutions in the audience and some of the public funding agencies that are part of our community. Our first event was in January, very well attended, and we are looking to do these about once every month and a half or so as projects come up. So we're pretty excited about that. The presentations, as I said, went extremely well. We've got a number of people in the Voinovich Center who we've worked with that are really pushing on that front. Another piece that we point out every year is we have 53 participants in our workers' comp program, which saved $251,000 to those members. We feel that's a very important benefit that as a chamber we're able to provide. On the attraction front, we completed over this past year, in 2006, a communications and marketing plan. We're poised to get started on that and implementing that plan. So you're going to see more about that. The specific sectors under attraction that we want to work on: interactive digital technologies, the game and simulation industry, specialty foods, environmental technology, and corporate headquarters or back office services. And one in particular, obviously, would be a call center. And this year alone, we had 4 call centers come to our community and were seeking us. We didn't go out and try to lure them in. And so we have been able to bring companies in to show them the existing McBee facility, for example, as a potential spot for locating. So on advocacy portion, Debbie is part of our government affairs committee. We meet on a monthly basis. We've developed a flow chart as part of our contract with the city that lays out the development process, and we're working with Steve Pearson and I think obviously others to look at that and develop, is that a good tool? How can we tweak it? Are there inconsistencies with code that maybe as a result of looking at this flow chart we can make a difference in fixing those? We've also had some, what I thought is very exciting opportunities. We've met with the Shade Tree Commission and some of our business members and brought those folks together to talk about, what issues are there with the landscape ordinance? Where are there areas that we can work together to make improvements? So we see that as just a start. We want to throughout the next year work on additional pieces. Another big success for us was Leadership Athens. We had a goal of 15 participants, and we partner with the Athens Foundation, and this year there were actually 24 participants. So we went above and beyond. We, I believe, had 34 applicants. So, and Paige is one of those, and Angie is also a Leadership Athens participant. We have also created a business and education partnership with the school districts. Larry Payne has been leading that effort along with the Appalachia Reads coordinator. And that has been a good start. We're moving forward and getting businesses matched up with schools that have told us that they need, have specific needs. So our strategies over the next year, we want to do 25 additional retention expansion surveys. Continue with the Southeast Ohio Investment Forum at least every month and a half, have 2 companies come before the forum. Work with the Interactive Digital Technology group through the IT Alliance of Appalachian Ohio. They secured a $500,000 grant that is a planning grant for them to receive an additional $2.5 million. So we believe that that'll be a good attraction tool for us to use. Again, focus on those core industries that I talked about before. Implement our marketing and communication strategy. Support, and as I heard council say tonight, all of the continuing care retirement community projects that are out there. It's very positive, necessary for our community. Support and continue to support Leadership Athens and the Business Education Partnership. Provide assistance to healthcare providers who are expanding, and to work on looking at the airport as a regional airport. We continue to be involved with the county comprehensive plan and are responsible for the economic development task force. And we also want to continue to meet with the city on development issues related to parking, related to landscape regulations, wellhead protection, the timeline that we discussed, et cetera. And this year, another advocacy piece that we were not expecting to deal with has been the Nelsonville bypass issue that has come up. So we are putting some effort from an advocacy standpoint on that project. Some questions?
Okay, I think that we'll go to questions concerning the chamber first, then go to Paige's report, and we may find that some of the questions kind of overlap, but that's fine. Virginia?
Okay, yeah, just to clarify, how much of the chamber's budget and level of effort goes to this contract, and how much goes to its typical work in support of its members? Because I notice there's membership benefits in here, so that's my
Sure.
question.
I just kind of put that in there and throw that in as, so that council can see what else, we're involved in.
Yeah.
The city's contract is for $55,000.
Right.
We have over a $300,000 budget. About a third of that comes from membership dues. The other third, a little bit less than that, comes from fundraisers and different activities and events that we put on, and the rest are economic development contracts, one with obviously the city, we have one with the county, very small one with the township trustees, and so we do receive small grants. AEP provides us with a $2,500, or they have over previous years provided us with a grant to help with our economic development efforts.
Okay, so, in terms of then level of effort, how much staff time is invested in this? Do you have a sense of what that might be?
Well, if I'm just to look at what the city is, it's very difficult because, basically my salary, the county and the city fund my salary along with about a third of the office, office staff, office expenses that are associated with that. I sent out, and I don't know that it made it, but a little budget breakdown on how that goes in terms of the, as I said, the office supplies, machinery and equipment, membership dues. As a professional economic developer, we're, in a number of organizations that require membership dues.
Right.
So I can provide more specific numbers for you. I guess I'm hearing your question being effort. The majority of economic development in Athens County happens in the city of Athens, in and around the city of Athens.
Right, yeah.
So we provide, I think probably, we get a lot of complaints from Nelsonville, for example, but we deal with those and we assist in Nelsonville. But we provide, the majority of our work goes to economic development work within the city of Athens.
You mean the majority of the whole staff's work goes to this and not necessarily?
No, the majority
Other
of
chamber
the economic
activities.
development contracts,
Okay.
the economic, which would be my position
Right.
primarily, and a portion of each of the other staff members.
Any other comments or questions?
Just a curiosity question. I'm looking at the marketing and communication strategy page,
Mm-hmm.
where it says the plan includes placement of ads that carry a young appeal for the Forever Young. I'm just curious as to what that is.
Our strategy is around entrepreneurship. So in thinking entrepreneurship, young, new, and we say not young in terms of age, but young in terms of, creativity, young in terms of what you're interested in and involved in. The recreation stuff fits exactly
Right.
to a T, the message that you want to try to send and get out there. And so we really are focusing on building up that next level of business, which would be the entrepreneurs.
Virginia?
I was looking at community development and the inaugural class of Leadership Athens. Do those people pay?
They do.
They do.
Mhm.
So I was going to say, is this something that our contract pays for, or you just put it in just to show what you're doing?
It's something that from my time standpoint, I've put time into and worked on that. But it's a partnership with with the Athens Foundation and separate grant dollars for the program itself were acquired.
Okay, then maybe I have a follow-up. So in other words, are you totally dedicated to economic development, so you don't have duties in the regular chamber activities? Am I understanding that correctly?
I do have some, obviously,
Okay,
some
maybe
duties
like
within.
50% of your time goes either way?
No, I would say that, I would say 80% of my time at least, to 90% of my time goes into the economic development services. And
Oh, okay.
how you define economic development has always been something that we've talked about here with the council. I mean, you know, whether I'm spending time on workforce development issues, well, that's not laid out in here, and that's some soft time. Developing the leaders of our community obviously is, in my opinion, a piece of economic development that we've been involved in.
I also might add that the Chamber's been active in the discussions working towards the education aspect of the Wellhead Protection Plan and how that is going to proceed, as well as continuing activity on the Stroud's Run, Friends of Stroud's Run task force, which is alive and well and working towards just plans to be a supportive group to the state park and its continuation. So thank you for both of these. And I might add that I think that what we'll do is we'll go to Paige's report now, and then I'd like to kind of circle back a little bit to comment briefly on Halloween and where we are with that.
I want to say one more thing. Hearing some of Bojinka's questions made me wonder if we might think about a report specific to the contract in terms of progress made toward the specific items in the scope of work in our contract with the chamber, and if that might help
Yes.
help you see how our money's being spent. So I think this is a really great overview of a lot of the really good work that the chamber's doing. But maybe in terms of, you know, just us doing due diligence in terms of accountability for tax dollars, trying to look at those specific items. And I think a lot of it's probably in here, but maybe pull that out.
Would it be
Yeah,
helpful to
thank
put
you.
together a document that takes each bullet from the contract and put
Yeah.
things that have been,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
It's probably, most of it is probably here.
It is.
Yeah. Thanks.
Ms. Page?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I want to start by saying what a pleasure it is to work with Jennifer and her staff, with Kevin and his staff, and Emily Prince. My first 7.5 months on the job have been an eye-opening experience to begin with. I'm learning a lot, but to have the support of those people and so many other people in the community who are genuinely interested in tourism as economic development has been really refreshing to me. And these are people that I count on every day for multiple things, so it's a pleasure to get to work with you. I did provide a report to you that includes our 2006 annual report and the 2007 complete business plan, and there's an electronic copy of that as well. In addition, if you haven't received already, our January activity report is coming your way. And this is a duplicate of what we send to our board members. That's presented in our board meetings each week. If you look at that activity report and there's anything that you'd like to see different or more information on a particular subject, please let me know and we can get that information.
That's this
to
one
you.
right here?
Yes. Also, if you look at the agenda of our board meetings and there's anything that you'd like to add, or if you'd ever like to attend a meeting, please do so. And Carol does attend those meetings with us. So, okay, to start off with, enclosed in here, you will see some information on the 2005 Economic Impact Report, which we received in November. And what this provides us with is a little background information on how many visitors, how much money, and what the total economic impact of tourism was on Athens County. Now, please remember that for the city of Athens, you have the predominant infrastructure for tourists, the restaurants, the hotels, and many of the activities. So most of the information that you can see in here has a very strong effect on the city of Athens, predominantly because of the sales tax that's generated. In 2005, 1.5 million visitors to Athens County. 1.3 million of those were day trippers, like we like to call them. It makes it sound so much more fun, really. 206,000 of those are overnight stays. That's about an 80% to 20% breakdown on day trippers to overnight visitors. Obviously, one of our very strong strategic goals for 2007 and beyond is to bring that up to a more healthy balance between the people who spend just a day here and the people who will stay overnight. Clearly, when they stay overnight, they're going to spend a lot more money than they are when they just come to visit for the day, about $100 a person more for an overnight stay. Just to give you some background information on the state travel expenditures, $33.1 billion in travel expenditures in 2005. Southeast Ohio, not just Athens County, but Southeast Ohio alone, only receives about 2.3% of that total economic impact. So certainly we want to capitalize on that a little more. Southeast Ohio, we like to think of ourselves as the other Ohio. And there are several great tourism development projects that are underway now that I think will bring a lot more attention to this region from the visitor market. A lodging tax review in 2006, we received $64,000 in lodging tax from the City of Athens. That's 35% of the total amount that's collected. And $174,000 was received from the county on the county lodging tax. And we take in 95% of their lodging tax. And that's our entire budget. This year, our budget is set at about $280,000. And that's for everything that we do, the marketing, the advertising, the staff, the promotions, all of that. In addition, in 2006, we awarded $28,000 in tourism development grants. That money went to 30 organizations and or events, and it included funding for 16 new events in town, some of which included the Quilt Barn Bike Ride, which we will be hosting again this year with the AM Rotary, and the infamous Ohio Brew Week, which was a big success last year, and we're looking forward to another fun week of that going on. There is much more information in there about some of the things that went on this past year, 34 conferences and meetings, predominantly done through Ohio University. And just to touch on that a little bit, we service those conferences and meetings that come to us through Ohio University, but we really need to work harder to facilitate even more meetings and encourage them to go after more meetings and conferences, even some of the smaller ones, particularly with the new Student Center. That can only benefit us, particularly in the slow time, if we can begin to attract more of those group kinds of efforts here. So that is one of our strong strategic goals for 2007. So what's new for 2007? Obviously, we have a new staff. I joined in the 1st of July. The middle of September, Gina Jeremiah joined us as our marketing coordinator, and Elena Scherer joined us as our media and communications person. And then Michelle Davis has continued on as our office manager. She's been with us for 2 years, so she has that historical perspective that we all appreciate every day. Where is this, and how did they do that? She's our go-to person. As you've seen, we do have a new logo and a new website. The website is an amazing tool. If they won't open the real highway, we'll take the information superhighway. And we really see this as a strong tool, not just for the City of Athens, but for the entire county. And it's a great way, particularly in the rural areas where there's not broadband, where some of those businesses and organizations and events can get their information out on the web. Our theme for this year is Adventure Happens in Athens County. And so you will see us capitalizing on all kinds of adventures, adventures in learning, adventures on wheels, and the skate park is a great example of adventures on wheels. Believe it or not, we have people that come here from all areas across Ohio, West Virginia, and Kentucky to utilize the skate park that's here. And they do host a great event every year that Wheels on Fire was very well attended and created a number of overnight stays for us, which is how we genuinely measure the success of an event. The website will also include tomorrow, after about 3 o'clock, online booking where people can go directly through our website to book a hotel. So you look at the website, get inspired about Athens, and boom, you can book a hotel right there online. All of our hotel partners are currently participating in this. Will also allow us to develop online packages, and this will include something fun, like a girls' getaway weekend where you can stay in a hotel, you might get your nails done, you might get some discount coupons from the Chamber of Commerce to do a little shopping uptown, you might have dinner in a local restaurant, independently owned restaurant, and you might take in a concert or a theater event at Arts West. And this online system will allow us to put together those package deals. And those will be specifically targeted at times when it's slow here. We will not be using special package deals on Mom's Weekend and Homecoming or football game weekends unless we really need the help. Most of this is going to be geared towards those months where the business has been historically slow, particularly for the lodging partners and our restaurant partners. and our retail partners. We intend to capitalize on the unique spirit of Athens County, particularly this summer with Quilt National going on. We are going to be hitting that quilt thing. We've got the Quilt Barn Bike Ride, we've got the 4th of July. We hope to have a quilt show of our Athens County quilts that were documented at the Quilt Discovery Day at Arts West this past November. And you will see an entire plan for that weekend before the 4th of July, all the way through that week and through the weekend after the 4th of July, a complete schedule of events that Larry Payne and I have worked very closely on to develop. And we will be encouraging people during that time to invite their family members and their friends and their relatives and people who used to come to school here or used to live in Athens to come back during that time as a real time of homecoming. And while tourism is important to promote outside of the county, we recognize that the people who live here have as strong a role in tourism development as those people who live in the metropolitan areas that we're also targeting. So you will see us doing a lot of marketing towards the people that live here. Outdoor recreation, we intend to capitalize on that very strongly, particularly with the Athens City Preserve. John Nels's trails have become a valuable tool for us. That photocopied trail map is the hottest thing that we give out. We give out anywhere between 25 and 100 of those a week. And we really look forward to capitalizing on that more and having those on our website. Finally, I do want to make note of several heritage tourism projects I will be coming to you very soon, I hope, with a special presentation about these. But there are 3 major tourism development projects going on in our region that Athens County is fortunate to fall within. Some counties, most counties only fall within one, hopefully of one, but we fall within 3 of those. The first one is called the Appalachian Adventure Trail. This is a 5-county region that's Athens, Benton, Meigs, Jackson. There's one more in there, Pike. And this will be rolled out within the month at the Spotlight on Appalachia Travel Show in Ross County in March. And this highlights art and adventure in that 5-county region. We are also working very hard with what used to be called the Share Your Heritage Group. This was a workshop that was promoted through the National Trust for Historic Preservation. They've been here several times to do site evaluations and workshops for us. We have identified a 7-county region, and let me see if I can name those. I should have written them down. Athens, Meigs, Hocking, Perry, Washington, Benton. I know there's one more. Morgan, thank you. See, this is why I like working with you. Morgan, 7-county region. The National Trust for Historic Preservation has told us that this is one of the most promising projects that they have worked towards. The purpose of this collaborative group is to seek status as a national heritage area through the National Park Service. This is not where the Park Service comes in and takes over this area, but it's where the Park Service recommends that something unique happened in this place. We are looking at this as Ohio's first frontier. It will capitalize on the unique history of this area and the natural resources and culture. And this does, once you receive that distinction, it comes with $1 million in funding a year for 5 years, and then is picked up every 5 years by Congress until they deem you to be a permanent project. So it provides a lot of promise for this area and something that I'm working very, very hard on. There also is another heritage-based project that's going on the Route 32 corridor that we also fall into. It is similar to the First Frontier, except their theme is different, and that's capitalizing on the unique Appalachian culture of Southern Ohio. So those are 3 really big projects that will bring a lot to us. The most important thing that I love about these is that they're really community development projects. They're really about towns and communities and villages telling their story and capitalizing on their history. And the byproduct of that is tourism. Because we know if we get our ducks in a row, we tell our story good, because it is a good story, then people are going to be attracted to the area and want to learn more about us. And of course, that in turn leads towards the opportunity for more business and more interest and more recognition for our area. So it really does mean a lot to what's happening.
And
That's my story.
I must say that both Paige and Jennifer have just added a real spark community-wide in terms of partnerships and networking and just a lot of exciting things going on. Questions for Paige?
One quick one, Paige. The 06 revenue, the county lodging tax as opposed to the city lodging tax, I'm very surprised to see, knowing how many hotels are located within the city and how many are located in the county, that the county is almost 3 times the amount of revenue generated.
Tell me which page you're on.
Page 8.
Okay. Well, what you see listed there is not, the Athens city lodging tax is our portion of it, is 35%.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
it's not the
just
total
your
amount
in-
that's collected.
okay.
Yeah,
And then
that's our
from the county,
portion.
you get.
From the county, we get 95%.
Now it
From the
makes
county,
sense.
we get 95%. Did I say that out loud? I mean, yes. Yes, that's why.
Okay.
So
And just to
from
give you an
Paige,
idea
thank you
of-
for asking.
And just
I
to
didn't
give you an
realize I was
idea,
doing a setup.
you know, for every dollar that's invested in tourism in Athens County, in 2005, based on those statistics, the county itself generates an additional $15 for every dollar that's invested in tourism. So you can imagine if we invested more.
I guess we could take it from, well.
No, you can't do that. We need her. No, we need the chamber. We can't do that.
Girl fight, girl fight.
Girl
Other-
power, that's what it is. Yeah, that's it.
Other questions or, Paul?
Actually, I have a sideline in one sense. Your brochures, you pass them around to the truck stops, because I was at, I think, one on I-77. No, actually,
the
one of the
travel
rest areas.
information centers? Yes.
And they say they can't keep enough of the Athens ones in.
Absolutely right.
Okay, I think the guy said to talk to Sherry Alexander or something like that.
Yeah, we just actually mailed a big
Tuscarawas.
stack out to the travel information centers.
Okay.
We produce 60,000 copies of our annual official visitors guide every year, and we give every last one of them out.
Mm.
And some of them are distributed in the community. We distribute them through the 1-800 Buckeye hotline, travel hotline that the state travel office administers, the travel information centers, plus our CVB partners all over the state. So, and we hand theirs out as well. So.
Yeah, as I say, I went looking for them at the rest stop there, and there weren't any, and I said, what happened? They said they can't keep enough. So,
Sure.
just so you know. The other thing is, what's your take on Halloween these days?
We almost made it, didn't we? I will tell you, Halloween has been almost a daily subject in our office since the day I started. I do believe that there is a great solution to Halloween. I think it's a great identity for Athens. It's been here for a long time, and people all over the country know about Halloween here. At the moment, I see it as it is a tourist event in the fact that it does generate overnight stays. Do I think it's a true marketable event right now? I don't think it's quite there. I think that it can be. I have, Gina, our marketing coordinator, and I have been meeting with Jonathan Holmberg, who we see as the official Halloween guy, for a number of months now. We meet with him at least once a month. We've also, through Carol, been talking with several private event planners, music promoters, to get their take on what should be done. Mm-hmm. And I've had some really interesting conversations with them over the course of the last 2 weeks. One of them called me last Friday just to say, hey, we are really interested in this. We really want to come down. We want to look at Court Street. We want to see what's there. And I think there is some opportunity to bring in, some outside parties to take a look at it and give us some advice on how it could be better. The great thing about the Halloween committee that's in place now is that they're very open to expanding Halloween and improving Halloween. It's not as though there's a roadblock and it's the way that they want it to be. I think they recognize that there's the opportunity for it to be something different.
And you're communicating with anybody from Student Center or OU at this point?
Actually, I had my first 2 students who have ever come to talk with me about Halloween last Friday, and they were wonderful. We had a great time with them. But I will tell you, working through the Clean and Safe Committee this past year, we sent out information on the listserv. There were students at the meeting that said they wanted to be involved, and no one ever contacted us. So it was great. We told them, wow, you're the first 2 students that ever came to see us. So
And those
we're
2
happy to work
students
with
did
them.
come from Bajinka's
Right.
class.
They did, yeah.
As
And
part
the
of
thing is,
that.
what they're doing along with 80 other students who are going to launch this next week is actually look at ways to make this, I like some of this terminology, revenue neutral. Well, in other words, how could one generate enough revenue to pay the expenses? And I think that's really the challenge
Right.
that we all have. And then, and there's a management component to that, and I have asked them to look at that. Because I think it has to maybe move beyond a volunteer activity.
Yes. And the promoters and organizers that I spoke with on the phone were all amazed that it had gone on for as long as it had
Yes.
gone on without
Yeah.
without a more organized approach to it.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think that really speaks to the volunteers that have been working for, 25 to 30 years to
Yes.
make it happen.
Yes, it
But I
certainly
think we're to
does.
the point where we realize that there needs to be something to retain the students up on Court Street during that time. I think our visitors, by and large, stay up on Court Street most of the time. There's no other place for them to go. But when you live here and you attend Halloween, you're more likely to make your pass up and down Court Street and then head back to your house. And we want to be able to create an entire weekend of events that allows everyone in the community to participate. And I think what goes on at the rec center is fantastic, and it's the true indicator to me that Halloween is for everybody. I mean, everybody wants to participate. We just need to make the opportunity for them to do so. So we'll continue to facilitate those conversations.
I just wanted to say, in fairness to student participants, that there have been students who've participated on the listserv and who attended the conversations with council and didn't
Yes.
necessarily feel very welcomed into the conversation. If they had different ideas about the kind of music they wanted to hear than the kind of long-standing committee. So they may be the first two that came to see you at your office, but I think that a lot of students have tried to weigh in and participate in
I
the
agree.
conversation.
And I think the fence situation has been a great inspiration of conversation, and I think that we will see more students come forward with their ideas. And I think we will see the Clean and Safe Committee become more open to a positive change.
Especially because some of the contacts that have been made with possible contractors, they've all asked that question first. Is it fenced, and do you charge admission?
It truly is the first question that every one of them asked me.
Which makes an interesting dilemma for us as a city, as a council, if we were to ask for, put out a request for proposals, would we say that it is not to be fenced, it is not to charge admission, and then the third leg of the stool is alcohol, because that is the other ingredient of do you allow open containers within the party area? So there's some huge questions for us to look at. Virginia?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on Debbie and Carol. I think that students have had difficulty in participating and taking responsibility for a portion of the event. I think they have wanted to participate, but they need a little more structure to the event, and I hope this does it. And some of the research that my students did, tried to separate the fencing from the admission. In other words, they were kind of, I want to say, fused together.
Right.
So it created some, kind of ill will there. But I hope that a city council and you all will look for presentations in March, because the students are challenged with, coming up with, conceptualizing something that would work for the community and also make, some revenue. And that may be that that they recommend after their study that there be a manager for this event, or that there be some administrator in place to kind of oversee and coordinate the whole thing.
And partly for us, as a council, something that we need to at least touch on is, are we interested in putting out a request for proposals? And in my conversations with Jennifer and Paige, the question is, would that be feasible for '07? And the answer is not, unless it was done immediately, if not sooner, which leads to some interesting dilemmas of working through these questions that it involves. So part of my question is, would companies that might be interested in this appreciate having a year to come and look at the event and party on Court Street with the rest of us and that sort of thing, and then say, what could they do for us, what their proposals are at that point? Does that make more sense than trying to?
I think that it does. And I think during that time, because there is this great conversation going on, positive conversation going on about Halloween, I think it's also a great time for the city to determine what its real role is in Halloween. Most of these big events that happen, the music festivals and the corn husk festivals and the sweet potato festivals and all those, are administered by villages, towns, and cities, by their event planners or by their staff. And, again, that was another one of those big questions that I was asked by these festival organizers and promoters is who's in charge? And of course, from our standpoint, Jonathan's in charge. He's our contact person. He's the guy we've always talked to. He's our person that we go to ask questions about. But clearly, that's not such a clear-cut issue at the moment.
Yeah, because
And
he's a
it-
volunteer.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a complete
And
volunteer
Jonathan is
thing.
not a huge group.
Jonathan is not a huge group. He's
Okay.
He has
enthusiastic.
coordinated entertainment, but he has not coordinated the
Exactly.
events.
Exactly, and that is.
And I think that's what the next level is that he's really been working on the music and the things that happen on Court Street, but there is the potential for an event there. And that's when we say it's not really a marketable tourism event. There's really not it happens, but it's not a true event.
Right.
If that makes sense.
And what I would like to do is schedule some other time in the next few months, perhaps to have Jennifer and Paige return and talk specifically about what council wants, expects, and so on of Halloween, and where do we go from here, and is a request for a proposal the next step? Kuchenko?
And I would just request that we have the input from the student teams, because there will be at least, 3 separate groups that we actually, and they are doing research and interviewing you and many others, and that we use that input in our discussions on council.
We'd also love to have the input of some of the local civic organizations here, some of the high school booster groups. I mean, this is an opportunity for a lot of fundraising, and we want the whole community to take part. We want the students to, but we want the whole community to think about it.
Can I just add one more thing? I mean, I think that's part of what the city needs to think of in terms of what kind of an event it creates. That, many people can step forward, but if it's kind of this piecemeal thing, who's going to step forward and do something, I think then it doesn't, it doesn't create the maximum benefit. So I think, we do have to kind of conceptualize what we're looking for and then invite people in also.
Thank you, ladies, very much, and it's a kind of a good news night, so that's a pleasant thing for us to have as part of council. So if there's no other miscellaneous for Arts and Recreation, the Arts and Recreation Committee stands adjourned.
Okay. My committee, Environment Committee, is next. Basically, I have one thing on the agenda in the miscellaneous. You see a third thing was recycling compost report. I'm going to hold off on that. What I have is Sierra Club members here, I believe, right back there, who wanted to talk about cool city programs, I believe. And they've talked to the mayor once already. They've been in contact with the mayor. So do you have any handouts, or do you need preparation, or? Okay. And just introduce yourselves. Ben, I know you. I don't know the other fellow.
Well, good evening, everybody. I really want to thank you for the opportunity to come talk to you guys tonight for the Cool Cities program. I put together some folders with some information on the program that we can pass around. I also have a binder with some news articles and things we put out that we've worked on already. You guys can take a look at that as it comes around. The basis of our Cool Cities program is that we want to do something about global warming, and we're not going to wait for somebody else to take care of it. I think that we have a community full of, strong, intelligent people, and we can do something at the local level to address global warming. We really want to take even the global warming out of the context of, is it really happening? We don't want to talk about the science or, make it some, is it a conspiracy theory or is it really a scientific fact? But, the facts are in. It's real. And it's time to stop debating that and do something about it. The Sierra Club started the Cool Cities program because there really wasn't any leadership at the federal level in many states, there is no leadership at the state level to address global warming. And a lot of times it's kind of this straw man argument of it's either going to be the economy or environmental protection or whatever other fake issues were there. And we think that we can find some win-win situations that aren't going to be a total overhaul of the way we do business that can make both a positive impact in reducing our greenhouse gas emissions as well as furthering economic development and building our community. There's three main steps to our Cool Cities program. We're pretty well into this first one, and that is to engage the community and start talking about the issue, and to talk to our friends, our neighbors, talk to local businesses, and talk to the city government about the problem and say, we can do something about this. We don't have all the solutions. We're not bringing some prescriptive measures to you guys and saying, implement this. We just want to make this the start of a conversation, and hopefully we can work together to find some solutions that are appropriate to Athens, the Athens community. The second goal of the Cool Cities program is to get our local governments to sign on to some sort of formal commitment that, one, global warming is real and a real problem, and two, that we're going to do something about it. We think the U.S. Conference of Mayors Climate Protection Agreement is probably the best way that cities can do this. In Ohio, we've had 9 cities so far that have signed on to this agreement. Cincinnati is probably the best-known city that's actually doing something with it. A couple other cities have signed on and really never got past the press release and high fives. It's kind of a feel-good moment. That's not what we want. We actually want some follow-through. We have met with Mayor Abel once, just with his, in his office, to talk about the program and to give him some materials, many of which you guys are getting tonight. And then about 2 weeks ago, we went to a staff meeting on Wednesday morning and got to give a similar presentation to all the city department heads and tell them about our program and try to bounce some ideas off of them. The U.S. Conference of Mayors Climate Protection Agreement is pretty much like a Kyoto agreement, but for local jurisdictions and municipalities. The main goal of that agreement is to get our greenhouse gas pollution to about 7% below 1990 levels, which is definitely an achievable goal. Now, to be able to quantify that and to do, know that the steps that we're taking are actually working and more than just a feel-good moment or something that gets the attention of the press, and we need ways to measure that. And there's an organization called the ICLEI, which is the International Coalition for Local Environmental Initiatives. This was an organization that was started about the time that the U.S. Conference of Mayors put together this Mayor's Climate Protection Agreement. Greg Nichols, who was and is now the mayor of Seattle, Washington, initiated this program at I think the 2002 U.S. Mayor's Conference. And a bunch of cities said, there's nothing happening at the federal level, there's nothing happening at the state level, and we have all the resources in our own communities to do something about this. So they put together this agreement and worked with some folks at the UN to put together the ICLEI. ICLEI has 2 main programs in the United States, and one of those is the Cities for Climate Protection program. But to join them, you need to have some sort of agreement, some sort of ways to officially say, we think this is a problem, and we think we can do something about it. It does cost about $500 a year for a city the size of Athens. The fees are dependent on the size of the city. So Columbus has been looking to sign on. It's about $8,000 a year for them. So I think we can get a pretty good deal. The thing that makes it worth it is that the ICLEI has already gone through this process with almost 300 other cities across the United States and has developed software that helps cities collect data and determine what their current greenhouse gas emissions are, make a prediction of what our 1990 levels are, and then it helps us set goals for the future. It also helps us evaluate programs that we can put in place to know if it's actually working or not. So it's more than just saying, hey, we replaced some light bulbs, or did this program or that program. So actually as a way to quantify that and know if we're achieving our goal. And the good news is that we're already doing a lot of this stuff that needs to be done. Energy efficiency is definitely a hot topic lately. The U.S. House just passed their clean energy bill. Hopefully the Senate will pass that and become law. And I think energy is definitely, a salient issue nowadays. The city of Athens, like the traffic lights that got replaced, I don't know, a year or two ago downtown, are a great example of the types of things that we're going after. Energy costs are going to go up and up and up in the future, and many of these energy efficiency proposals can end up saving both time, money, and energy. So we see these as win-win situations. Some other things that would definitely help reduce greenhouse gas emissions are things like, our trail system, that John House has been working on, getting people to say, go for a hike locally instead of driving out to the Hocking Hills. Mayor Abel talked about how Arts West is getting a new boiler. The old one is less than half as efficient as the current one. So a lot of these things that we're doing already as a matter of, running the city are definitely a step in the right direction. So we think that part of this process is just going to say, we're going to include some intention with what we do to reduce our energy use and therefore reduce our greenhouse gas pollution. The ICLEI program would definitely be a key part of knowing, how far we've come, knowing where we're at and knowing where our goals should be at. We're hopefully going to have another meeting with the mayor to see if he's going to sign on to this agreement, which is the thing that will allow us to join this organization and be able to get the software and program assistance to implement this. But we don't need to wait until that happens before we can start to keep energy efficiency as a kind of a goal of what we do. Earlier tonight we were talking about the lighting upgrades for the skate park. I think that'd be a great opportunity or an example of the ways that we can incorporate energy efficiency into our decision making. And instead of just looking at what's the upfront costs for installing these lights, say what's a 25-year cost for installing these lights and running them, and say, well, look, if we spend an extra $5,000 up front, are we going to end up saving $10,000 in the next 10 years because the lights we install is a lot less energy? And you guys have any questions? Feel free to chime in here.
So the membership really gives us a way to evaluate what the city buildings and infrastructure is efficient. Is that how it runs? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't had a chance to use the program, but I know it comes with a pretty hefty manual. The first step is collecting a lot of data on, the city's infrastructure, what kind of activities we do. I know there's different data sets that more applicable to a town the size of Athens versus a larger city, and the program assigns certain kind of a carbon footprint, if you will, to different activities. And we can see how those activities have changed over time. Maybe say, how many car trips did we have per day versus what we have now in 2006. And then we can say, all right, here's our goal, here's our 1990 levels, and here's 7% less than that. And say, hey, this is pretty achievable. And it also allows us to look at what technologies and what programs are going to help us meet those goals.
I see your packet says 7% by 2012, right? Is that what it says?
That was the original agreement.
Mhm.
That was 4 years ago. I don't think the Sierra Clubs is tied to that timeline as much as we are getting the ball rolling and making this process happen.
Virginia?
I was going to say, in terms of gathering the data, inputting it, and analyzing it, now, would that be something, after, if we got membership and the city had the software, who would actually do that? Would that be city employees?
We would like to step up to the plate and offer some volunteers to help with that. We don't know, it obviously require a computer to put the program on, and we know that you guys are brought great ideas with no funding all the time. That's exactly what we want to avoid. So that's one of the reasons why we think energy efficiency is really going to be the center of this program, is because it's a way to save both money and energy. You know, we can definitely volunteer when it comes to both gathering that information and doing the data input into the program. But we think there should be some sort of involvement with the city so that we can institutionalize this process and not just make it a flash in the pan.
Yeah, because I see that this could require some manpower, some person power here. Yes.
Any other questions? Debbie?
I was just going to mention a couple other things. I think we are looking at bike racks for the buses, and we do have a biodiesel truck in our city fleet, so there are a couple things that we've been, I think, making some progress on. You have this presented as a mayor's resolution in a lot of the other cities. Have other municipalities where there's been a council resolution, or, you know, is there something we can do to, you know, show our support and
There has.
intention to cooperate?
Most of the cities that have signed on to the Cool Cities program have done it through a mayor's resolution, though a lot of cities have also had both a mayor's resolution and something, you know, at the legislative level to
Mhm.
you know, pretty much say the same thing, that we're in agreement that this is
Right.
both a problem and something that we can definitely do something about. And if we do something about it now, it's not going to be that bad.
And I also think that we can expect some encouragement and maybe support from the state, because I know that Governor Strickland is committed to energy efficiency, and particularly, you know, is already encouraging state universities to do what they can in terms of conservation and efficiency. And I think that there's going to be a lot more movement in that direction. So it may not be the same thing as coming up with something where there won't be any support for that kind of programming, because I think there's growing support, you know, across Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, the time is right to do something about the issue. And there's just a lot of win-win situations waiting. You just have to take that first step and initiate something.
Carol?
I just thought I would add that also with the new transit contract, in the discussions of replacement vehicles, the hybrid or some energy efficient choice is on the table, and we put it as a high priority, so I believe that will be occurring as well.
That's great. We had some discussion with folks at the streets department and the fire department about using more biodiesel and biofuels. And we're really blessed to have some good volunteers with the Sierra Club. One of them is Greg Kramer. He's a mechanical engineering professor at OU and knows quite a bit about biofuels. It's definitely a viable option. Do you think it's a viable option?
It is. None of these issues are very simple, but what we can offer is, you know, a dialogue-based process where when you have a decision that you need to make and you need some more information, we do have a lot of resources where we can help you gather that information. You know, biodiesel is not a solve all of your problems kind of a solution, but it can be used in certain blends throughout the different seasons, and really, from my perspective, it gives you great advantages in terms of energy security and price stability. Because if you have alternative fuel options, then when the price of diesel might be going up, you might have a short-term stability if you still have biodiesel. But in terms of long-term price stability, there's a lot of possibilities that we might eventually be producing biodiesel here in Athens, and so that it could be a very beneficial thing to the city.
Any other council member questions? No? Okay. John and then Lorraine, did you want to say something?
Sounds good.
You can go to the podium or sit down, your choice.
John Nass, 13206 Dutch Creek Road. Yeah, I just wanted to inject one thought here. This is something that most people don't think about in terms of energy efficient and running energy efficiency and running an institution, but actually one of the easiest ways that the city could help energy efficiency is simply by recycling aluminum cans, which is not being done, to my knowledge, anywhere in the city right now. it takes a few percent as much energy to make a recycled aluminum can as to make one from raw bauxite ore. And it's one of the most dramatic ways you can do it. So, just wanted to mention that, thank you.
Thanks, John. Lorraine?
Just wanted to go over a few things. I'm Lorraine McCosker. I'm chairperson of the Appalachian Ohio group at the Sierra Club. And we started this program. Ben last year wrote a grant to the Athens Foundation and was awarded funding for solar panels on the middle school. He collaborated with the Ohio Environmental Education Fund and for funding, as well as local company Third Sun Solar and Wind. We had a press conference. Mayor Abel spoke. We also used it as a general introduction to the community, the whole concept of energy use, renewables, and the Cool Cities program. Since that time, we've had several meetings in the community. We've offered 3 presentations with the Sierra Club. We've also met with a local group called the Interfaith Earth Justice. The spokeswoman for that is Carol Cure, who was the chairwoman of Rural Action for many years. They have decided to implement a Cool Churches program, and they are currently doing that at the Lutheran Church. The Methodist Church on College is also looking at that. So these folks come together, they meet regularly, they look at how to educate their, the people who come to their churches, how to reach out to the youth. And that's what this program is about. It's about collaborating with the community. We have some, when the folks spoke with the head of the departments, some of the concerns were, what are you going to give to us? How can you help us do this? We do have a group of people who are currently being trained in energy audits. I've been doing that with Ohio University for the past 4 months. We're going to collaborate with COAD. We have students from the Green Network, so we have students from the university who are interested. We have some professionals, environmental professionals, as well as community members. So we're reaching out into 3 spheres, and that is the city implementation, the business, and also the community groups. We have folks who want to go into the schools and do education. So it's something that's very timely. Governor Strickland had an executive order last month, and he created an energy advisor. The person is Mark Shanahan, who has been working in alternative energies as well as coal for many years. The Sierra Club is meeting with him this Friday to talk about energy issues in Columbus. And also, Governor Strickland implemented an order where we start have energy audit of state buildings. And this has to be done by the end of next year. And then there's a incremental effects, the implementation where it's 5% within the first year where we're decreasing energy use. So this is like very, very timely. And just in the past year and a half, we had a 2004 election where there was probably 2 sentences discussed in one debate about environmental issues. President Bush spoke about this in the State of the Union last month, so it's very, very timely. And I think you'll see that this would benefit our city. We would be the 10th city in Ohio to do this. There's about 350 cities nationwide. And it's just a very positive thing for Athens. I think it could have a huge effect in the tourism industry, the economic community. Jennifer Simons has come to our meetings, and she's very interested. So, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, thanks. Thanks, Ben. Thanks. Here's some of your stuff back if you want it. You have something else? No?
Do you,
Sorry.
are you going to draft a resolution then? referring to the.
Okay, I'm looking at my
Yes,
other
yes,
committee
yeah,
member
committee,
here.
yes, I think that's
Referring
Okay.
to the U.S. Conference of Mayors resolution and maybe naming some specific things that we can commit to supporting, like promoting recycling in our city buildings and committing
Okay.
to an energy audit along the lines of what's happening regarding state buildings
Okay.
as some first steps.
Okay. I'm assuming Debbie over there is taking notes. She looks like she is. I think it's a good idea. I agree. Because I'm scribbling things that I know I won't be able to read. Okay, thanks.
Even by hand.
Thank you. So we'll probably go for a resolution, probably not a next meeting, but meeting after. I want to talk to the mayor about this as well. Have one miscellaneous.
Did we do
Which right now?
recycling and compost?
No, we're not going to have that.
Oh, we're not doing
No.
that. Okay.
The recycling company?
No, that's not enough.
The other one, yes. Yeah, pass this down over this way. This is a discussion I had a while back, concerning the commercial haulers. We have 5 commercial haulers within the city. And what I'd like to do is amend the section of the code there, which is 50208, and essentially trying to reduce it whenever one of these commercial haulers license lapse or they merge. There's an anticipation eventually what's going to happen is some of these companies are going to swallow each other, and just to limit the amount of circulating garbage trucks, I think is the point. So what you're seeing there is the copy coming out of the present code, and below is the copy with an amendment in terms of in bold. The other section B was actually a discussion I had with Nancy Bain sometime a while back. I think it was actually last year about, and this was done in 2003, is increasing the fees for the Packer trucks. That's actually, the breakdown on that is on the second page of what we've been charging. I'm not really willing to do that right now, but at the same time, I just want to make you aware of the fact that it is an open-ended contract that keeps going up by, was it $250 per ton of Packer truck, per cubic yard of Packer truck. And therefore, it will get steeper for the commercial haulers over time. But again, this is part of the business, the cost of doing business within the city. So really what I'm looking for is whether we want to add that section in the code for this, for the reduction of commercial haul licenses. Any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I understand that the idea is to reduce the number, but is there some minimum number? Like we wouldn't want it just to be 1, because that would be a monopoly? Are we interested in making sure that there are 2 or 3, or not?
I don't think they'll go down to 2 or 3.
Okay.
And the reason, I think we're looking at the size of the various companies. 2 of them are fairly large, so I don't think they would actually end up. But that's a good question. Let me think about it.
Okay.
I don't think, go ahead, Bill.
Oh, I remember asking this when, this original conversation happened. I'm still having trouble understanding why it is in our interest to want to reduce this, when I would think the more competition, the better the price for the people that are doing it. And there's only so much garbage, so if there's 10 trucks taking the same amount out, I would think they're doing it half the amount of time, or not going over the same streets over and over and all that. So I would kind of question the value of trying to get it down to a certain number, or either that, or I don't understand the benefit of trying to get it down.
I think the main benefit we have is how many trucks are driving around in our cities and the sizes. But I think there's another context there, is just trying to equal the playing field for our hauler itself. And
How
I
does
say
this
that.
do that?
How would this do that? Well, the way the registration is, they're not covering commercial anyway, so it probably wouldn't. You're right. Again, I think it comes down to just how many numbers of trucks we want patrolling around. Go ahead.
Because right now, there might be 5 different garbage trucks driving down the same street every week. If businesses or whatever, apartment buildings had all different contracts, right? So it's kind of a wear and tear on our streets.
They're big trucks.
Question.
Well, the fewer, the bigger.
Well,
Right,
not
right.
not necessarily, but
And it's
Or the
really
more
the same
frequent
amount of
trips.
garbage. So I don't know. I yet to understand the logic of this, but so be it.
Okay, go ahead. Carol?
Me?
Yes.
That kind of leads into what my question is concerning, if we reduced it to 4, are we going to have a problem with those 4 being able to cover all of the trash? No, that is not a problem. So 4 companies could do it as well as 5.
Yes, one company could do it as well as 5.
Remember, we've been, over the years, been changing the mix of this. Originally, we were down to, I think, apartment complexes over 10 and commercial, I think, are the main 2 areas that these haulers are covering. They don't cover the franchise district uptown anymore. So there's been a slow movement, even before my time on this, to change the mix. And we still got a long way to go to get the garbage fixed. Go ahead, Debbie.
The question about the fees that you were raising, this, on the second page, is how much they pay for their license for the whole year?
Yes.
And you thought it was getting too expensive?
No, I think part of the email that was going back and forth is that this is, I don't think it's too expensive, but I think it's going to keep climbing. It's not it doesn't have a cap on it. So.
Probably not going to keep climbing as fast as the cost of tipping fees. I mean, it's just expensive to deal with solid waste.
What did you say, Bill?
If you get down to 1, I bet it will.
Carol?
It's highly variable in the city, and the people do have their contacts just spread all over, and it's not equitable at all. But that's not the point. The point is that we don't have anybody saying it's way too expensive, let's stop picking up garbage in the city of Athens.
However,
we do.
that was my question. Don't they just pass this on through the contract anyway?
Yeah, and if they have a small, we have to supervise it, we do supervise it. And so that would be in recompense for that, because it's the only way, other than that we would actually pick up the needed fees.
Okay, Carol, did you want to say more? I didn't.
No, that
she
was
just asked.
Okay.
I just want to go back, is 1 less truck really going to make that much difference? I guess I'm not fully understanding the need for this.
Yeah, but what we're doing is we're saying 5 was a number that was artificial.
Yes.
It was a number that was a solution to a problem that we had.
Okay.
15 years ago. No, because there were 5 haulers. And since that time, none of those haulers are still hauling.
They're all the names of all
And
the-
now it's 5 different ones.
Right, and
Okay.
it's, and you could, from the point of view of Cool City or anything else, from an economic point of view, it would be much better to have them all in one operation. And it's highly variable. If you look at what they're charging, it's astonishing, the differences from one section to another and even on the same street. And people, it's garbage, right? They don't pay attention. They just pay the bill.
One truck goes down
Yeah.
with one dumpster, and they go down the street. Dumpster over on this street, this house number 20 has one dumpster, a really apartment complex. 27 has a different one.
And if you want to read
Okay,
it,
so now we have 2 trucks going down the same street. And I walk down the street and I see some of these things. I can think offhand Bayard, I think there's 2 different ones. Going from Commons to, I forget the apartment that's on Washington.
So it's a safety and wear and tear issue.
On narrow streets, yes.
I don't think it was safety so much. I assume they know how to drive.
Well, wear and tear.
Wear and tear, yes.
So,
As for the other aspect of it, this was discussed of increasing the slope of the fees. I'm not comfortable with that right now. But if you think it should be put forward.
Well, I don't understand why you would possibly object to having increases in fees.
Well, it's already increasing. I'm looking at that and saying it's got,
Well, if they're running 2 40-yard dumpsters through our town, and that would be in Waste Management, one of my favorite companies, I don't see why you think that increasing the cost each year is going to make a difference. It would be a problem.
how much is the increase? Where is it?
Is there a
it's in this
change?
section right here.
Well,
Sorry.
that's what,
Yeah,
I went
but
looking
what,
for it and couldn't find it,
$25
but.
per cubic yard.
I asked,
Total package
when it
capacity.
was my committee, I asked Steve about it, and he's,
So if you look at the
He
package
recommended
capacity here.
continue the increases. But I forgot to ask Debbie when I came in. I was so busy with my 13.6 amendment, thinking about that I couldn't remember to ask her to pull it off and see where,
30 times 25.
the last time
Every
we did
year.
it.
Yeah, that's not a lot. 2.5.
And it'll be, will we have time again, Paul, if you want me to look, I think it's in an ordinance form, and I don't think it's automatically increasing. I think we'd have to change
Do you
it.
think there's a cap on it?
No, I just think it
Certain-
ends at a certain point, but I could be wrong. And since I forgot to ask Debbie, because I was bedazzled by 13.6, I will do that, though.
Okay, I guess the next thing to do is look up the old ordinance from
Mhm.
2002 or 2003.
But it's.
But I'm looking at the code, that's all I'm looking
Mhm.
at.
And so, now, and just to make it, I mean, having been through a really horrendous experience a couple of years ago, there's nothing wrong with, just if somebody goes out of business, then let's, if they stop picking up, what would be the problem with saying, well, you just can't sell the license? You can sell your truck, but you can't sell the license to the city of Athens unless the council at that time thinks it's critical. And then we'll always find someone to do it. But the problem is the amount of traversing of the streets and so on. I mean, follow Farmer down the street one time and look at the size of that truck. It rattles the china in the cabinet, I think. There are times when it goes up the street by my house and I open the door and the cups fall out. And it's not an earthquake, it's a garbage truck.
Big purple one. Go
Big
ahead, Carol.
purple one. It is huge and it is heavy.
Who would this
Carol?
proposal upset?
Anybody who's going out of business, or anybody who wants to come in.
And they would feel that it's,
But they're not going to now.
If we have a process in
Why?
place,
right,
Then
so
it's-
that they
it's-
don't think they're being targeted. I
Yes.
can see.
I think what Nancy's referring to is the waste management fiasco many years ago.
Oh, I know.
Okay,
We were. That
Yeah,
was wonderful.
I remember, and this was a part of that discussion at that time.
That's
yes.
probably where it is then.
And that's when we went to 5.
Well, actually, what happened, I think they bought somebody out or something like
Yeah,
that. Okay.
the SS.
Okay.
But they still have roll-offs, and that's all they were doing anyway. So it becomes sometimes a game of keep away, which is another thing if the license is commensurate with the actual profit, then maybe those people that are just hanging on to things for the heck of it will get rid of it.
You're making an argument for an increased fee, right?
A little bit, yes.
Okay,
Well, let's find the ordinance first.
okay. How does everybody feel about Part A? How does my committee feel about Part A?
Part A? Well,
Am I on your committee?
Well, I guess, it just seems, is this really the solution? So one person goes out of business, then there are 4. I mean, is that much of a benefit? Then 5 years later, maybe it goes down to 3. I mean,
Hopefully, we don't have that much garbage. If we're doing it correctly, we'll have all recyclables eventually.
and
We
then.
won't need all these
and-
things.
And then there would only be 1, right? But,
Yep.
I mean,
Be a small truck.
Actually, they can take it in a wheelbarrow.
yeah,
Well, we
that's right.
recycle
Then
everything,
you
no
have
more-
a bigger truck.
Well, it's not like we are I mean, I'm also on the committee, it's not like we are taking action. What we're saying is that if you choose not to renew, unless we have to, or if you're merging, if one company would buy out another one,
Right,
then there are 4 licenses.
correct.
Okay, we're not saying we're going to go out and take it away
No,
from them.
no, I know, but that's our desire, and then we have 4 and we're happy?
Sure.
Really?
Be
Is it
happy if
okay
there
for
were
Paul
one.
to sell his truck to Bill,
Sure, you can sell your truck to whomever you want.
but I can't pick up garbage in the city of Athens?
Not with Paul's truck, you can't.
Well, no, wait a second. If
Won't
you're
get much
still,
garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what
He
I'm.
doesn't have a
Well, why
Packer
can't
truck.
you?
That's what you're doing here.
Right.
But it says merging. So isn't merging, like if I had a truck and you bought it, would we be merged?
Yeah, you'd be a single entity.
are you talking about buying businesses, or are you talking about buying hardware? That's what you're saying. There's a
Yeah.
difference.
Of course there's a
Okay.
difference.
Which are you talking about?
Well, what I'm imagining is if I am a hauler and I would want to invest in a new, greener truck, that runs on grouse grease, not too unlike the city's truck. But then I cannot leave that in a will to my son. I could not build a big business with it and sell it to Paul because now all of a sudden it's a change.
No, wait a second.
You're reading too much into it.
No, that's, okay,
You
we're
are.
not talking about vending licenses here.
Yeah,
okay?
that's right.
That's what you're talking about, is vending
Right.
licenses and
We're
personal
talking about
corporations.
you
We're
buying
talking-
up someone else.
We're talking
Commercial
about
hauling.
Bill's Hauling. Inc.,
Okay.
Okay? Bill's Hauling, Inc., Bill's son takes it over. There's no difference. You paid your license, you paid your license the next year, you pay the license next year.
So I can sell it to whoever I want.
No, that isn't what he
Give
said.
it to your son.
Yeah, you can give it.
So
If
you're
you-
telling me it's okay
Cannot sell it.
for somebody to inherit it, but I can't sell it?
Well, you can sell the truck.
No, but what
is
good
he-
is the
what is he
truck if I
talking
can't
about?
use it?
Well, wait a second. I'm kind of confused. I thought
We're
there,
talking about merging. That's the only thing that's on here, merging.
no, wait a second. We're talking about two
No.
things. One is somebody
Talking about two.
gets to pay their license.
You're also talking about renewal of the license, and if, I have it, but I want to sell my business that I have
It doesn't say
spent
anything
20
about
years building
sell.
up,
It
says
says
merging.
non-renewal.
okay.
Non-renewal.
It says reduced through any non-renewal.
Whoever I sell it to, they can renew the license.
No, non-renewal means that you have a major goof up, and 6 months later, you haven't paid your fees, and you say, oh, I didn't pay my fees. I guess I have to make,
And I certainly remember that happening.
yes,
Yeah,
I
and
still
that
have
did.
kneecaps, which I'm grateful for.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
But all it says is merging, that's the only thing. So if you buy up another one, if you buy up another licensed hauler, then you don't have two licenses. We meld it, that's all we're talking about, one simple little thing. Either a goof up, and if you're a big corporation and you can't keep your licenses straight, then too bad.
So, but if he sells the company.
It doesn't say
and
anything about
the
selling.
To
following year,
another
the new
person.
company renews the license, then
It's hard to
that's a
separate
renewal, right? And so that was okay.
some mergers from a sale.
Right, even if the name has changed. It
We're
used to
talking
be
about
Bill's.
if there are two and they're under the same ownership, there are not two licenses. That's all we're talking about.
So if somebody just goes out of business, sells their truck to somebody from Columbus, and they're done, that's a non-renewal.
Well, I don't know, it depends if they pay their fees. I mean, we
So
aren't
whoever buys-
addressing that in this. All we're saying is if one hauler acquires another, if one got to be, has so much money they wanted to invest, let's say Macarius bought up Waste Management. Okay, let's say
Okay.
that happened.
Yeah.
Then there would be one single license, there wouldn't be two.
Right.
And
That's
we'd
all
be
it
down one
says.
license.
Right.
It doesn't say anything about anything else. Don't read any more into it than there is. We don't want to have another round.
But what?
Well, I was going to say, didn't we say that if somebody sold their truck, I don't know these
That was
people.
probably Bill.
This
Bill's-
person has
Yeah.
one truck.
And I still, that's how I'm
And-
reading
and-
what you're
and-
saying.
And I buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I changed the name to Bojinka's Refuse. Now,
That is not.
Farmer didn't renew it. The license is gone, so I cannot buy one.
No, no, no.
No, no?
No, 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 no. If a farmer is selling you his business, then you can change the name, that's the same license. But if he acquires Macarios, then he doesn't have two licenses. That's all this says. No more.
Why would he want to?
Because it's not an uncommon thing.
Okay.
Because restraint of trade. I mean, what they do is they hang on to them. There were two haulers out of the three that weren't even picking up in the city.
So one company, one license.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's not that tough. Let's not
Right.
make it tougher than it
But
is.
reducing it by one
Yeah,
doesn't take the problem away.
right.
Why does it not take the problem?
Because it's only one truck is gone. You still have four rumbling down the street.
But this over time will change. I mean, if there's a series of mergers, then this will reduce.
Well, what if there aren't?
Then we still have 4 trucks.
Okay, and I guess my point is
Well-
like, what do we really want? One truck?
Fewer garbage
Three,
haulers.
two, I mean,
One.
Us.
Well, that's a different.
No, I don't know about that. I
don't
just
know
think
about
that.
us either.
I think two that would be arranged in a more systematic way. If I were, and I'm not Paul's, yeah.
If you're a dictator, right?
No, I just think that it would be, it could be much more
Centralized planning,
effective.
we like to call it.
But why are you talking about that when we're only trying to prevent a change that we wouldn't like in the future from past experience? The past is never, what, is a bad idea? Good idea.
It's good.
I'm sorry, I had to jump in, Paula.
No, that's okay. You're doing marvelously.
No, I'm
Enjoying
just
watching
impatient
it.
as the Dickens.
Okay, what I will do is put this forward so we have 3 long, hard readings and everybody can have fun with it. How's that sound?
It has to be done by the 1st of July.
That's plenty of time for 3 long, hard readings.
Okay. And see what other
Okay,
zany
I-
scenarios you can think of.
I don't have any other miscellaneous,
There
so
is.
we're done.
You're through?
Yeah, unless somebody else has miscellaneous.
We may just stay, Amy. Transportation.
Yeah.
Okay, transportation.
All right, on to transportation. There's only one agenda item, but I have 2 miscellaneous, of which I'll just do those 2 first because they're quick, short, and easy. Got a request from the university for the 25th annual street fair, the International Street Fair, wanting the street closed, Court Street, of course, on May 19th from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. This is the 25th time it's happened, so hopefully at this point, everything's
This should be in a pile.
figured out. Questions about the street closing, Jacob?
Yeah, I was wondering, what part of the street do they want
Court
closed?
Street, it is, what is it, from Union Street to,
I wonder if they want to be
To State.
closer to the new Baker Center.
Yeah, why not?
I don't know if I
I
can
mean-
vote on it, conflict of interest.
That's true. I'm not voting, I'm just discussing.
You shouldn't discuss. You're
Oh,
not allowed to discuss.
oh, can't discuss.
entirely up to each individual council member to determine
And if they want to
That's
get
right.
sued, sure.
Did you find it, Nancy?
No, I didn't, as a matter of fact.
Amy, I think it's a wonderful idea.
all right.
Me too.
I'll check with them, on if they want to change any part of the ordinance on the location of the street, and I'll let the clerk know if that happens to be. And then we'll do 3 happy readings of the street code. Paul, Jimmy?
No, go ahead, sorry.
Okay. Next thing was, I met with Andy on Friday and just went over various things and kind of caught up on street issues. A couple of the things I was concerned about and brought to his attention that there's no crosswalk or crosswalks down by the new Baker Center.
I noticed that, yeah.
So, which is kind of, odd because where do you cross, other than right at the stop sign? Anyway, as soon as it's, the weather is, he's able to paint on the bricks, then he'll get up there and paint some crosswalks up there. And also, same thing with the bike lane that's to be going in, because if you notice traveling that part of Court Street, I think people are still trying to travel in 2 lanes of traffic headed on Court Street. So he's going to get those painted as soon as he can. And the other thing that we discussed is the Ever So Delightful Street Tour that we'll be doing at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning in April. What? We've never done it at 7:30.
Yeah, why does it have
It's
to be
always
7?
early.
It has never been
It's
that
been
Late is a relative
never
term.
earlier than 8
It's always
o'clock.
8 or 8:30.
Nice try.
I remember being up very, very early.
No, it was.
Oh,
maybe I was 10.
I know it had to be 7.
I remember.
All right, fine, 8
Nancy, you must
o'clock.
have those.
Okay.
Anyway, it's going to be, the 2 dates that he gave me availability, 7th of April and the 21st of April. I don't even know tonight which one is best, just
The
to.
7th of April or the
7th or the
21st?
21st.
Okay,
At 8 a.m.
okay.
And the 14th is the Trout Derby at Stroud's.
April is in
So
March.
check your calendars and let me know over the course of the next couple of weeks which date's better for you. Paul?
To jump to another miscellaneous, the cruise-in, it's probably time to start those up.
Yeah, I met with Bill a
Okay.
couple weeks ago. Yeah, we discussed some dates and such, and I'm just checking on some things with businesses and such
Okay.
to make sure. He's wanting different
Oh, I've
parts
got
of the streets as well, not just Court Street, but some of the side streets. So I'm trying to coordinate that and figure out in terms of availability and what would be feasible in closing those streets on the days that he's wanting.
And the one thing that I remember from last year is that the people downtown who are merchants were livid that all those streets were closed.
I know. That's why I'm trying to talk to them first before And to see.
Oh,
if
there's
we-
nothing, I mean, just don't close them is what they want.
Well, right, but if there's something that we could do in collaboration with that same event, like if they wanted to have a sidewalk sale or do something that would also generate merchants coming to their businesses on that same day, we're looking at doing that too.
But they just wanted parking. I mean, they would settle for that.
Parking?
Yeah, they want parking, they want their parking there. I mean, that's what I heard, I mean, Saturday afternoon. And
I
they
know, and
said,
I remember
There's
you-
nobody on the street, and here I am, I don't have any customers, I'm down 20.
I know that parking garage is so far away.
I know, and they're not going to use it when it's free. And they don't have to close all those side streets. It's what the people say, and I think they're
Oh, I don't remember them
absolutely
closing all the side streets.
right. Yeah, they did.
I don't remember that.
Well, I mean, the Washington Street, West Washington Street was closed. I mean, they had all the meters bagged and everything else, or by about 8 o'clock on Saturday morning.
Well, like I said.
They were awfully enthusiastic about street bagging meters is the bottom line, and the merchants would like it not to be quite so, them not to be quite so enthusiastic. Point taken.
Duly noted.
Duly noted, okay.
All right, next issue is Stewart Street sidewalk. As we discussed last time in committee, it was up in the air, or at least we were discussing how we wanted to go about assessment, or what we would want to do in terms of completing, or, excuse me, constructing the sidewalk down on Stewart Street. Made copies for you today. Debbie did some research over the past couple of weeks, looking into different cities and what they do in terms of sidewalk, new sidewalk construction, and also sidewalk repairs. There's research from Columbus, Cincinnati. I don't know if everyone had a chance to look through any of the information. I know that I just got it to you tonight, so I'm not entirely sure what you had a chance to look at. What you will know or note upon looking at this is that a lot of the procedure for, if we were to decide to do assessments upon how we determine that, is the process is the same. I mean, we'd have to do notices, give them a chance to, the property owners give them a chance to do their own assessments and decide whether or not they would want the city to do the construction or if they'll do the construction on their own, et cetera.
But Amy, is that really an option? Weren't we going to coordinate a construction of the sidewalk?
You mean do a standard?
Yes.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that's why I'm providing
But
this
we're not going to
research.
have one guy doing it in June
No.
and 3 doing it in July.
Well, I think that we were going to like give them deadlines or timelines, but I think that, you just talk about not giving them the option at all of
I
doing
mean,
their own
just, well, I don't
construction.
know.
Are you talking about Stewart or are you talking about policy? I think you're talking about two
Talking
different things here.
She's talking about Stewart's.
Well, I think that Stewart is going to be the one that helps us set the policy,
For a street that has no sidewalks.
right, and repair.
Yeah, well, repair, they can
Repair,
go
we're
out and
just
write them
doing,
up.
right, but that's just
Tell
something that
them
we have
do
to
it.
make sure
They
that
want to.
we're determining and sticking, so,
And
yeah.
and I asked Debbie to look at what one of the citizens wrote us about using rubber sidewalks around the trees. You know, trying that as on an experimental basis on the last house, with us paying the take on it.
Right, and you gave me that, I didn't talk to Andy about that on Friday, just
I know,
completely
well, it's
forgot,
too
so-
early, but I know that, when the citizen sent it to us, or to me at least, I thought, what a good idea, and I didn't even imagine it would be applicable in this, but since the tree commission wants the tree preserve, and this option is a new option, won't be forcing, I mean, it probably isn't gonna be that pricey, because the lot's so narrow,
Right.
so.
Well, in terms of even, I don't even know if this is going to be applicable to the tree down there on Stewart Street, because
The two of them.
I don't know if it's going to be, because I know we talked about doing a retaining wall, or just like a raised curb, I think he said, in terms of being able to construct a sidewalk, but not taking out the tree at all, of course.
Yeah, because
Trees.
the curbs are raised with, railroad ties. I mean, the owner of the house has obviously raised the curb himself for some reason along there. You'll notice that, right?
Is this something that you can send to me electronically? Forward to
think
me?
so.
Do you still have it?
No, I probably do.
I don't know, what does council think then in terms of, do we just want to wait? And, because I think that I was really ambitious in wanting to get this done and constructed over spring break, but that has since passed.
End of the year is good.
Well, right, so I think the beginning of summer, getting it done this summer is what we're really shooting for. Andy has talked to David Stanson, who a majority of the construction is happening in front of his property, 56% upon looking at the sheet. He's talked to him, And he did express, he wanted to see if he would be able to do and look into his own. Once council decided, or once we had a total cost estimate, which we'll get in 2 weeks from Andy, a more accurate one, as to whether or not he could just do it on his own and go out and have the construction done at his own discretion.
To our standard.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
But we'd have to check them.
Well, right. So, I don't know.
That end of Stanton's area, that's where the trees are, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Is he aware that we're trying to preserve the trees, I assume?
I'm not sure what has been
Okay.
discussed with him.
Okay.
We have a recommendation from the tree commission to do that.
So where does this leave us in that whole question of percentages? It looks like most of them, it's just the property owner's responsibility.
Yeah, I
except
mean,
for Bowling Green.
in reading through this, a lot of it just, the property owner pays 100% of it.
And in some of them, they pay the curb also.
Right, exactly.
Which we already paid for.
I think that probably one of the best examples, just in my mind, was the Bowling Green, the city of Bowling Green. Because they kind of break down the new sidewalks in comparison to the sidewalk repairs. And if you look, sorry, these don't have numbers on them, but it says under the City of Bowling Green on the second page, new sidewalks in developed sections of the city, section B. Kind of what we talked about before in terms of priority and if it's like a public safety issue on construction of the sidewalk. So that's just something to look at. I think that maybe if you guys just want to take the time and read over this, some of the research that was put together, and then we can make a determination since we're not as hard pressed to get through this. So, and Andy, like I said, will be getting us the accurate cost estimate in 2 weeks.
And the one on the opposite side of the street are all replacement, and they're 100% paid by the owner, right?
Yeah, it's just which section?
So that's not even an issue. It's
Right,
just
no.
the other side where it's new.
And if I remember correctly from our meeting, that Steve will just be letting them know that that needs to be done, or the repairs need to be made. So, that's on 74 and 72. So, is that okay with council then, bring this up again, 2 weeks, continue dialogue? I have no miscellaneous.
Okay, the last committee is the City Services Committee, and I have one item on the agenda and then one item of miscellaneous. I might start with the miscellaneous, and that is that about 3 or 4 months ago, I talked about the problem of salt in the city garage area, and I wanted to commend the city administration for responding to my concerns. Apparently, well, I got a note from Ray right away, and I really appreciate that. And he said he was going to have Andy do a new protocol with respect to it. And come to find out, it was a management issue, and the management issue was solved, and so that contamination should be reduced in our well fields. It's not the first time we've had chloride, but it's one of those problems. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the rapid response and the can-do attitude that I saw there. Okay, now, parking tickets. City of Athens, Ohio. Tickets issued and paid. And first of all, I have a little newspaper article that Paul called my attention to, and that is OU and Athens see increase in parking tickets and revenues collected. And in that article, I was unhappy to see we are lagging. So this proposal will be an effort to pick up the pace and everyone's, yeah.
Pass the article around.
The article?
From
Okay.
the Post.
It's from the Post.
We're
Right.
lagging in what way?
We're in collection of tickets. We're underpricing our tickets. And I want you all to remember that this was, 2 months ago, we passed an increase in the number of officers, and this is supposed to offset that cost. So if those fines are paid, we have the tickets issued, the tickets paid. You can see that obviously the expired meter is the big kahuna, with the 2-hour limit being a second. And if you increase those, the current fine, let's going down the list, you can see 20 to 30, 20 to 30, everything, I guess, but the one that Amy had just increased. And then we get down to
The handicap.
the expired meter, number 21, take a look, 24,000. $831 for each person in town. And then the number paid, and that's up, and we're happy for that. But we're going to raise that from 5 to 10. I believe Debbie has the ordinance already worked out, and we're talking about.
Have we discussed it?
Yes, we discussed it.
Okay.
Oh, you were in Thailand, I believe.
I see.
Did you get any tickets to Thailand? How much is that?
Yeah.
No.
That, you can
Less
leave
than
town in
that, I can
Thailand.
tell you.
Here, you're done. And okay, so we're talking about a major portion coming from expired meter, and then you can see the next largest amount coming from 2-hour limit. And getting right down to the recalling what we talked about, we have a need for additional police officers, and one way to get them is to make our fees commensurate with the other big entity in town. And so I propose we go from $5 to $10. And that's a doubling, and that puts us right up there with the big guy. And
Which one are you talking about?
number 21,
You're going from 5 to 10.
5 to 10. Actually, if I were God, I'd go from 5 to 50, but that's.
No.
Okay, so
me.
you're
You
going
and
from
your
5 to 10 for the 2-hour.
Well, they're all there, just look at them all. So we have the current fine, starting with 1, it goes 20 to 30. And this is the recommendation we've gotten from the
Every one of
administration.
these?
Parked on a sidewalk, 20 to 30. Blocking a driveway, 20 to 30.
No, he's
I mean,
saying that's
we're-
the second day thing. That's the.
Nancy, I might point out that on all those $20 fines, I can't find a police officer that didn't start and it was $20. I talked to Tom Withers the other day, and he started 23 years ago and it was $20.
Okay, so
I mean,
there's
It's been
no,
a long time since we've looked at that.
okay, thank you. And we'd like to
So
see,
do
you
you
know,
think the other ones should increase?
they gave me this
Yeah,
recommendation.
all the $20 fines, I think, should be increased to 30.
What about the second day ones?
Well, the second day would be then an additional, because otherwise, if you don't have a penalty in there, if you don't pay it within 48 hours.
The
What-
current
May I
two-day
discuss the
step,
48-hour thing?
yeah, just a second, wait a minute. The current two-day step is the fine.
Current 2 day.
Current two-day step.
That's if you pay it within 48 hours.
It's 20.
Okay,
If you don't
so-
pay it in 48, it's 30.
Um,
Currently. You want to go up to 30?
30,
and then
40?
At 48 hours, it's 40? Okay. I just ask and try and clarify.
Okay.
Tell me when I can discuss this.
You can discuss it right now.
The two-day, how do we feel about that? I mean, I think that is really onerous. I've never lived in a place that you have to pay within 48 hours. Because if you mail it, by the time you mail it in, it's 48 hours. So how wedded are we to 48
It's a
hours?
postmark if you mail it, isn't it?
And you can put it in one of those little flaps
No,
downtown, too.
yeah, but I'm not going to walk, I'm sorry if I get a ticket. I think people are in a hurry, it might be icy. To demand that people walk around and put it in a little slot, I think is really
But if
onerous.
you mail it, it's the postmark.
Right.
Well, even then you have to run home and do it that moment.
You probably drive home.
Well, I don't. I just find that to be
Slowly, no
outrageous,
speeding.
frankly.
Well, go with, propose 3 or 4 or
Well,
whatever.
I propose
Fine.
4 days or 5 days.
Well, then it will be stringing out over a week because of the postmark question.
Well, yes, that's
Well,
right.
with
More
that-
than 2 days, they'll lose it.
No, doesn't anyone, I mean, does everyone get their bill and they run right home and write a check? No, you put it and you say, I'm going to deal with this in 2 days or whatever
don't
day you're
ever
going to do
get
it. I just think the 2
know, I was
days
thinking the
is
same thing.
really,
Yeah, you, parking passes.
really,
Walk uptown.
Oh,
very
Something that hangs
difficult.
from your mirror that takes care of it.
And if we're interested in, saving gasoline, to drive to the police station and give it to somebody is also a waste of gas. I mean, I think 5 days is reasonable. You drop it in the mail and it gets to the police station.
I'm not convinced. I mean,
You know what I find really interesting out of this newspaper article? We collect $173,000 from parking meters, but $391,000 from fines, over twice as much from parking fines than we get out of the meters themselves.
There was a little inaccuracy in that.
Oh, do
data,
tell.
because
Oh,
The 191 was what was collected in the parking garage. On the streets, it was 285. But we still get more money out of fines than we do of parking meters.
And that makes perfect sense, because if you pay for an hour of parking, it's $1. If you get a ticket, it's
So look how
5,
many
and now
people get
proposed
tickets.
10 or 20.
And that's at the $5 ticket rate
Right.
that goes up to 10,
I have a question on the,
or 20, I suppose.
Yes, I think that's excessive personally.
Nancy?
Yeah, but I didn't make this out. This is the recommendation of the
Okay.
administration.
Well, no,
Ask
I'm
the
just,
mayor.
I'm wondering if this is wrong on the handicap, because we raised that. So why does it say current fine $100?
Well, because this was the date June 1, 2005 to May 31st, 2006, and that
Oh,
time period
so we're-
was.
okay, well, I'm just making
I
sure
would
that-
exempt
That's
the
already
handicap
been
since you've already dealt with it.
It's not in
You've
there,
gone to
is it,
what the
Debbie?
state is.
It's
No.
250
In the
and
ordinance Debbie's
350.
constructing, it's not in.
Well, it shouldn't be, I'm just making sure that
Oh,
that's.
okay, I
like,
just want you
we're
to be
fining
assured, be assured. Minor point.
$250.
To run the projections, we backdated a little bit so people had time to pay.
Parking.
And so that you get a more realistic picture of how much revenue is and how much, what increases would impact it if people do the same pattern of activity. It can always go down if people don't park on yellow curbs and don't park in the crosswalks and everywhere
I
else.
think you're only going for on every except for handicap. So the, other
Going
than,
up
other
5
than the
instead of
issues.
double?
Yeah, and we're talking about projected paid if, with $5 over.
That's the 541? Okay.
And then if you go $10 over, and I guess when we talked about it earlier, we were talking about a $5 increase on everything.
Yeah, so this is more than so it goes from 20 to 25, not 30.
So then what we're seeing in the current 2-day step would be the penalty, the fine?
Yeah, the 48 hours.
So what's left out is the $5 increase everywhere?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the way, you just make it look like
And
it's
if you
so
did-
bad.
If you did the $5 increase, you would then be recommending that the 2-day step for a $25 ticket would go to 35, not to 30.
I'm
right?
recommending
No,
a
I'm
5-day.
asking Nancy.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to ask the mayor what he's recommending, because I was looking for enough money to pay for 2 police officers so we can have some neighborhood policing.
Right.
Because Captain Pyle said, go talk to your council members, and they listen to you. So I talked to them, and then I talked to the mayor, and the mayor talked to Captain Pyle, and Captain Pyle made the set of recommendations, and I'm back here with it.
But I'm just not clear about what the recommendation is.
$5 on the fine. And, I mean, all
No.
right, so we can say $5 plus $10, or do you want to say?
All right, the way the spreadsheet is
I should-
set up through the computer is, it just shows you first off what was paid and what the accounts receivable is. And then we listed the current fines and the step-up of the two, because otherwise you can't multiply right across and get, like when there's 220 parking on the sidewalk and 180 paid, it wouldn't equate out to that number. So you're saying, there's a mix of those. But the projection is if everything that was paid went up $5, that's the first column. Projection of $10, that's the new collected amounts. If we merge these by taking the projected paid if $10 increase, taking away from that the expired meter, and I'm thinking you're saying also the 2-hour meter, and doing only a $5 increase on that, it would increase, if the fines remained the same occurrences, it would raise about $190,000, which would pay for your 2 police officers. And what I would further recommend is that since we're in the process of doing that, and we'd have some software changing and ticket things and all that, make it effective July 1. And then you have an education time of being able to say that, it gives us time to be able to say, this is going to happen, what it's going to be.
Boy, I know my constituents would really be happy.
We aren't going to be able to
if-
hire the officers before July 1 anyway.
No,
so.
I didn't think so. Parking
I
on a
think-
sidewalk, parking in the front setback, if you had 500 of those, they'd be delighted. Anyway.
Well, are you saying that everything else is raised 10 except for?
No, those are two projections over here.
I know.
This is what we,
I know.
5 and
I-
10.
I know,
think
but
the
I
jink is
heard
right,
the
Paul.
mayor, I thought the mayor.
Everything $10 except the
Right.
expired meter
Yes.
and the 2-hour limits,
Right.
raise them 5.
Right, that's what I
And that
thought
would
I
get
heard him
about
say.
$190,000
Right.
if the same thing occurred. Now,
Correct.
the only thing that's different is that is what Bojinka has brought up is saying, on the step up, otherwise you increase for delinquency, how many days till delinquency?
Correct.
She's recommending more than 2 days.
Yes.
I don't know that anyone else is.
Well,
I'm also in favor of extending the days.
Okay, that's 2 out of 7.
Thank you.
Well, I think that, a lot of the tickets that I've ever gotten, which aren't many, yes they are, are like on a, Friday. So what if you get it on a Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday?
What if she's
the
going
boxes? Where are
somewhere?
these boxes?
That's right, that's what
Not
I
every
want to
meter.
know.
They're
Where
not on
are
every
the
meter, though.
boxes?
They are not on every meter.
No, and you have to walk around. What if
No, but they're not like, they're just
What if
like,
you're
hey, drop your
handicapped?
parking
That's
tickets
right.
here.
I mean, I've
There's
never
somebody
lived
at the police
anywhere
department on
that you're
24 hours
I
a
know
day,
that.
7
I mean,
days
I
a
know
week.
where some of them are. I know where they are, but not
Most
everybody
places
knows where they
You
are.
have to mail it. Here, you can mail it, or you can stick it in the little thing and save
Correct.
the stamp.
Exactly. You can if you want. But the way it seems to be set up is the first order of business is to immediately run over and pay your fine.
You better want, is what they say.
Right.
You
And
better
what I'm
want, or you
saying
pay
is
more
that,
money.
that maybe people are busy, maybe people have to go home first,
think
maybe people have to
72
go
hours
get a
is
check.
reasonable. I think 72 hours is very reasonable.
Is that 3 days,
That is,
as opposed to 4,
as opposed to 2.
as opposed to 2, 3 days?
I think an extra day. I think 72
1
hours.
day, not 2 days.
Not 2 days. I think
I still like
I think
5.
a day. I still like 5.
Well, I do.
It'll be
I mean, I
dragging
think
out.
the practical reality of people handling their finances is such.
I think losing the tickets is a good point. I think that you will lose. I'm still looking for some right now, not single tickets.
All right,
I have another issue.
wait a minute, let's make sure everybody is okay with going to, what the opinion is about going to 3 days. It seems like it's a midpoint between 2 and 4.
72 hours. I mean,
That's what I said, okay, we know you're for it. How about you, Carol? Carol, what do you think?
I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference.
Okay.
wait,
Amy?
she doesn't get parking tickets.
She's so virtuous, she's going
But
straight
if
to
I
hell.
If you
did,
get
I'd walk
parking
20
tickets.
feet and put it in the yellow box.
To avoid
you
paying more
can't.
money.
I don't even know where the boxes are.
There's one in the front of the building here.
72?
Well,
Okay,
yes,
I don't care
what
about
if I'm not
72.
in the front
Polly,
of the building?
What?
72 okay with you?
No, I'd rather keep it 48. I think at this point, from my point of view, paying the fine should be the first thing that person thinks of. They shouldn't go home. I see too many of these tickets
please.
sitting on a sidewalk. I see these tickets flying around the sidewalk because somebody threw it over their shoulder.
That's totally different from
Yeah,
a
of course it's totally
conscientious
different.
person.
But they'll get
who
it
has
anyway.
a
They'll
baby
get-
or something, or
the
is
litter
an
control
older
person
person, and I think it's onerous
Wouldn't that be
to have to
cool?
walk over
A
and give a
conscientious
ticket.
person shouldn't leave the meter.
I believe that we now have at least 5 people saying 72 hours. So let's start with that, and you can raise it to a larger amount in the future if that's.
Jim's in favor. I know.
I don't, okay, well,
He's
we
in
have
favor of
5.
5.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
He's in favor of 5.
He can go into the loading
See,
zone.
yeah.
All right, so is that clear? We're going with the proposal as noted on here with a 72-hour window for Bojinka. We're going to call it the Bojinka edition.
No,
It's
if
not
it
gonna
were, it would be
break the
5.
bank.
Procrastination.
Is the
ordinance
bicycle
there.
on, is that people locking their bike to parking meters?
Yeah.
There were only 4 of those tickets issued, so it's not going to break the bank if we
Right.
leave that fine where it is, since we don't have bike racks.
We have some bike racks, riding the bicycle on the sidewalk in the uptown area.
Oh, is that what the tickets
Oh,
were?
riding,
Okay, got
riding a
it.
bicycle.
And we only have 2? You better get some more.
Can you,
Well,
can you attach your bicycle
I will
to?
cross-check on
I
that,
think
but
Maybe
that's.
registration
I don't
So
see
it's not a
anything else that
break
would
for
be,
It's not locking your
fine.
bike to the parking meter since, because there's not.
that's not illegal.
Okay.
There's nothing in your code that makes it illegal.
Except for ducks and.
What is a
Noted.
front
Duly-
setback? I don't
Dogs
even know
are
what that
illegal.
is.
Dogs are legal and foul is too,
You cannot tie a dog to a meter.
nor a duck.
Taking up 2 spaces.
Part of the reason for the lowness of that is the officer says you can't do it, they just automatically don't do it. Because they know, they've driven by signs saying they can't.
Okay, so do we have consensus then? Okay, we're adjourned.
Oh,
Wonderful, wasn't that quick and dirty?
9:30. Oh.